Good morning, and come in. Come in and breathe. Come in and sing, pray, laugh, be. Come in just as you are this morning. However you are, wherever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. Come on into your church. I'm Angela Herrera, the Senior Minister of First Unitarian, and I'm here this morning with the Reverend Bob LaValle, our Associate Minister, with Music Director Susan Peck, our lay worship leader John Eldridge, and our wonderful tech team, including our volunteer DJ for today's service, Chris Paul. Sanctuaries and theaters may still rest empty, but to borrow the words of Annie Dillard, we are here to abet creation and to witness it, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house. It's good to be together. As we get started, John has a few announcements to share.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody. I'm John Eldridge, and I've been a member of First Unitarian since 1999. And one of the major motivations for my joining was the arrival of my son, Nick, and my daughter, Gabriella. And they had a great experience in the RE program. So we have 3 announcements this morning, and one of them relates to education. This month, children and youth return to their official roles as students and learners for the school year. Just as learning is a special job of our children and youth, it is important for all of us to do work that is important to us and for the world too. Sometimes in school, jobs, sometimes in homemaking and caregiving, sometimes in volunteer work. And so next Sunday, we will offer our annual backpack blessing, a ritual honoring an important part of our lives. People of all ages are invited to bring your backpack or other symbol of work to the drive-through, no-touch celebratory blessing. It takes place in the church parking lot next Sunday, August 16th, between 6 and 7 p.m. Kids will also receive a charm for their backpacks and bags. Be sure to bring your mask, and we'll be wearing them and practicing social distancing. If you don't have a car, a bicycle is fine too. We just ask that you stay on or in your ride as you enjoy the drive-through so we can all keep each other healthy and safe. That's the first announcement. The second announcement is that First Unitarian is hiring. We're looking for a part-time technical arts director to oversee the technical production of worship now that we will be holding services online for a while. To learn more about the position, go to uuabq.org. And finally, on August 30th, Angela and Bob will hold a question box Sunday. Instead of the usual sermon, they'll take some time to respond to your big questions. So starting now, you can send them your religious and spiritual questions. Send them to specials, and that's plural for specials, at uabq.org. During the service, Angela and Bob will draw questions out of a hat and respond off the cuff. Any questions they don't get to that day will be considered for future sermons. That's our 3 announcements. Let's work together to make ours a great morning.
Good morning. If you have a candle or a chalice handy, please join me as I light the chalice from our church sanctuary. We light our chalice today with words by Robert French Levins. This was read as the affirmation from Angela's first Sunday at First Unitarian 10 years ago. Holy and beautiful is the custom which brings us together in the presence of the Most High, alone and with family, together and yet each apart. We come to be nourished and strengthened, to give and to care, to face our ideals, to remember loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to make confession, to offer forgiveness, to be enlightened and strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of the ages, the cathedral music of history. 3 unseen guests attend: faith, hope, and love. Let all our hearts prepare them place.
No, not yet.
1, 2.
Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such treasures. I love you so. Dear friends, take time how I feel. I have given me such treasures. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. I have given me such treasures. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. I have given me such treasures. I love you so. I love you so. I love you so. I love you so.
Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm a nurse. I'm Heather and I'm a midwife. Will you join us in the children's affirmation? We are Unitarian, Universalists. We are people of faith with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Thank you.
Hey, are there any kids out there who want to help me call our puppet friends? Let's see what they're up to this morning. Let's call Carl and Olivia. Will you help me? Okay. Carl, Olivia. Wow, what is this? There was quite a mess in my kitchen this morning. I think this explains it. Oh my goodness. Hey, these balloons are gigantic. What is up? Balloons are up. Good one, Carl. That's very funny. For my birthday? It's not actually my birthday, Carl. I'm 10? You know, I'm actually quite a bit older than 10. Olivia, you look like you have something you want to say about this. What is it, Olivia? What is it? For my anniversary? Oh, well, I've actually been married quite a bit longer than 10 years, too. But thank you. Huh, okay. Oh, 10 years at First Unitarian. You are right. I came here in early August of 2010, 10 years ago. Yeah. And Bob too? Yeah, Bob has been here for 1 year. He came in early August of 2019. Thanks for remembering, you guys. So are these balloons for me? One's for Bob. Okay, let's see. Let me just, this one. Oh, yeah, I get it. It's a number 1. That's funny. You like Bob? That's nice. Because he gives you rides in his car? That's true. That he does. Isn't it nice that all ministers are a little bit different? So tell me about this other balloon. This is an anchor? Because I've stayed put. Ah, good one, Olivia. That's really funny. And tell me about the cupcakes. They're a present? One for each year? Well, thank you. I see that there's one for Bob on here too. There's 11 cupcakes. Well, he's really gonna appreciate that. Oh, thanks, Carl. Okay, well, I'll just set this aside until after the service. Okay, I think Bob's really gonna like those cupcakes. Oh, Carl, I think we'd better wait until after the service to eat the cupcakes, okay? But thank you so much. Olivia, how long is 10 years? Well, let's see. It was the year of the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Barack Obama was president. Well, my son Mauricio was just 11 years old, and now he's all grown up. He's a film student at UNM. In fact, he helped us with some of our videos this morning. And my daughter Olivia, she was just 14, and now she's all grown up. You saw her in the children's affirmation. She's a nurse. Well, let's just say it's a really long time. It was before our new sanctuary was built. I helped with that, and I've helped with some other projects. There's definitely enough to celebrate with 10 cupcakes, for sure. 1 cupcake? Of course you can have a cupcake, Carl. Yeah. You mean I get 1 cupcake? What about the rest of them? Oh, 1 is for you, Olivia. 1 is for Carl. 1 for Mauricio. Okay. 1 for my husband. Okay. 1 for the dog. I don't think so, but keep going. 1 for my daughter, Olivia. And okay, 1 for each of the rest of the puppets, and that leaves 1 for me. I see. You guys sure are being generous with my cupcakes. Didn't I preach about radical generosity? Yes, I have preached about radical generosity many times over the years, and I suppose now that there are cupcakes on the table, you guys are going to tell me to practice what I preach? Well, thank you very much for keeping me in line, you two. Okay. Carl, why don't I just keep the cupcakes up here, and I'll give you 1, like I said, after the service, okay? All right. Well, let's go ahead and say goodbye now. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye for now, you two. Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Never a dull moment with those guys. All right, well, here you go, Bob. Here's your cupcakes.
Hey, a message from the Lord, a message from the Lord, a message from the Lord. Good morning. Let's see. Thank you. That's a pretty hard act to follow, the puppets and that great musical introduction. I'm Heather Clark. I'm the president of the congregation. In August 2010, as Olivia and Carlos reminded us, Barack Obama was our president. Oil was gushing into the Gulf of Mexico from the Deepwater Horizon, and the World Health Organization officially declared a pandemic over, the H1N1 pandemic. And in those way before times, Reverend Angela Herrera began to preach to us in our crowded social hall that was our sanctuary. Remember crowds? This fireball of a minister, with her intelligence, her big ideas, her creativity and problem-solving skills, not to mention her changing hairstyles and colors and her fabulous shoes, joined our church that month. We're delighted to celebrate 10 years of Angela beginning her ministry in Albuquerque. Most ministers' traditional duties are to hatch, match, and dispatch. Yes, Angela delights in dedicating our children and marrying us, no matter whom we love. And she has led memorials for our church members and the unchurched in our community alike to help them through their grief. But she does so much more, like marching in the Gay Pride Parade with a hula hoop, or leading us to change our inhumane immigration system and teaching us about white privilege and systemic racism in our nation. On the board, Angela advocated for the Music Angel Fund that eventually created a full-time musical director. Angela, who leads the church, also leads the church staff, and she organized not 1, but 2 major building projects, and she is now diving deep into the science of COVID to keep us healthy. Along with Angela, we were so lucky to get a package deal that included Carlos too. Carlos has helped with our puppets. He attends so many church functions, and I believe his support of Angela enables her ministry to shine. Carlos, we thank you. Just as the congregation gave Angela an outpouring of support to join our church in 2010 and to become our senior minister in 2017, once again, our congregation leaned in to show its love for you, Angela, with a 10-year anniversary gift. We hope you and Carlos enjoy a 3-night vacation at Bear Mountain Lodge B&B in Silver City and a gift card to take care of other expenses. But wait, there's more. We have another anniversary to celebrate. I remember when the board first heard about Bob LaValle from the hiring committee more than a year ago. From the first moment they talked with Bob, they knew he was the minister for our church. And Bob's work with the online services, as you can see, came at just the right time. We are so grateful.
We've enjoyed Bob's wisdom and good humor on the board this year too. And to celebrate Bob's first year anniversary, we'd like to present you, Bob, with a year's membership to the ABQ Biopark and $100 in gift cards to help you support 2 independent bookstores in town. Reverend Angela, Reverend Bob, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all you do for us, for our church, and for our faith. Please join me in a Zoom round of applause. I'd also like to say thank you to Christine Robinson for being the spark. Board members George Bakula, Sally Wistrand, and Doug Lesher, Jerry Noble, and countless donors and others for making these anniversaries happen. And now we have a slideshow created by William Baker and Christine to remind us of 10 years of Angela's accomplishments and our year with Bob. Thank you.
Wow. On behalf of Angela and I, we're deeply grateful for the incredible support and this outpouring. So thank you so much. And, oh, wait. Oh, here are my, oh, thanks for the cupcake and the balloon. Right on. All right. I guess let's put this over here. Oh, there we go. This is a post-preaching snack coming. Well, I'd like to invite you now to join in a guided meditation. We're going to time travel. So make yourself comfortable. Maybe take a deep breath and let it out slowly. I'd like you now to remember back to 10 years ago, to 2010. And if you're not old enough to remember that far back, just remember as far back as you can. Picture yourself in 2010. Maybe that was a wonderful time of your life. Maybe it was a period of great struggle or doubt. Watch yourself as you were then, and notice your thoughts right now. Are you making judgments about your 10 years younger self? Do you wish you could talk to your younger self? Look at those judgments and wishes, and then let them go. Release them. Turn your focus on your younger self and cultivate a spirit of generosity and compassion. Remind yourself that your younger self was just doing the best they could with what they had. Wrap your younger self in a comforting blanket of unconditional love. And when they are wrapped and comforted, let them go. Bring yourself back to the space you're in right now. Turn your attention to your breath. Don't try to control it. Simply be a witness to it. We'll abide in silence for 2 minutes.
Holding the hand of a mother. She's holding the hand of a child's hand. Who's holding the hand of another. He's holding the hand of a sister's hand. She's holding my hand. We are a circle of hands. Our lives unfold as we dance. We move, we change, we grow. We're face to face with the unknown. So hold a hand as you dive into the dance. This dream, this big dream, is it worthy of sacrifice? Is it worthy to give my life for this love, this huge love? I'm risking everything. I'm ready to change this dance, this wild dance. I'm song, this plain old song, I'm willing to go on. Holding the hand of a brother's hand, who's holding the hand of a mother. She's holding the hand of a child's hand, who's holding the hand of another. He's holding the hand of a sister's hand. She's holding my hand. We are a circle of hands. Our lives unfold as we dance. We move, we change, and we grow. We're face to face with the unknown. So hold a hand as you dive into the depths. I'm holding the hand of a brother's hand, who's holding the hand of a mother. She's holding the hand of a child's hand, who's holding the hand of another. He's holding the hand of a sister's hand. She's holding my hand.
We share our hearts, we share our hands, and we see each other in our sharing. We see the joy of anniversaries and the support of families and just the happy basics of a garden and vegetables, and the way our pets companion us and comfort us, and see many expressions of the way that this church community supports each other, feeds each other, and we walk together on this journey. So much joy for that. And we see the concerns, we see all the care that goes into going back to school and understanding this new adjustment. And we have concerns for the healings of people that we love and their health, and the general results of the pandemic and especially its impact on mental health. And as we pray for all those who struggle with the isolation, we remind folks that no one is in this alone. No one needs to go through this alone, and they can reach out when they need to. We pray for Christine Hall as she recovers from surgery. May she find comfort and rapid healing. And we pray for Marilyn O'Boyle and her whole family and her great-grandchild Adriel, who passed this week. May Marilyn and her family find peace as they mourn. And may they know that they are held by this congregation. May light perpetual shine upon Adriel. We remember longtime First Unitarian congregant Robert Mickelson, who passed several weeks ago. May his family be comforted by their memories of Robert, and may light perpetual shine upon him as well. All these joys, these concerns, we lift up to the great powers of healing and celebration and renewal that are known by many names. Let's pray the words that Lucille Clifton wrote in her poem, Blessing the Boats. May the tide that is entering even now, the lip of our understanding, carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever. And may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that. And may we all be held in the heart of love. Amen. Blessed be, and peace be with you.
Will you join me in singing our hymn, number 86, from the Gray Hymnal? The words are in the chat bar. Blessed Spirit of My Life, written by Shelley Jackson Denham. I'll play through the tune once and then we'll sing the 2 verses. Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
This morning's reading is titled The Idiocy of Flight by Jane Jepka. A well-known poem by Robert Gray speaks of butterflies, their honest idiocy of flight, lurching here and there by guess and God and hope and hopelessness. Any number of quotations sound this way, and so I think do we, but privately. Publicly, we speak the civilized language of human beings who have things under control. No idiocy, no lurching. The world sees that we function well and happily. Other people believe it, and even we begin to believe it. Life moves forward as always. Privately, though, we experience long stretches of turbulence and occasional downdrafts. So many in our church feel alone when things go poorly at home, when they feel their age, whatever it is, or when they grieve. So many feel alone in their money worries or career problems. Awful life situations seem to set us apart from one another. Normal lives include these awful parts. They don't always show from the outside. It's hard to believe any other folks at coffee hour are feeling the same kinds of screaming pain, emptiness, or entrapment, or panic, or precariousness, or low grade. Lives, even lives well lived, don't stay in place for long. At least that's how it seems from the peculiar vantage point of the minister's study. It's a help, I think, to accept the idiocy of flight, the butterfly flight pattern so firmly implanted in the human mind and heart. Let the lurching then be no surprise. Know we're all up there flying every which way together.
First, thank you so much, Heather and everybody. On behalf of me and Bob, again, thank you so much for that wonderful tribute and those thoughtful gifts. I did not see that coming. The tech team can attest. As soon as the first hint showed up that the service was veering from my plan, I started hitting the alert. So totally did not see that coming ridiculously. So thank you again, though. 10 years. I just think, how did that happen? I arrived here fresh out of divinity school, and I think I made the beeline for the best congregation in the country. I came initially because both this congregation and the senior minister at the time, Christine Robinson, were known by reputation throughout our denomination. I had heard that this congregation was healthy and was growing and was open to trying new things. I heard that people here went deep theologically and embraced the theological diversity that existed in the congregation. So much has happened since then. It started pretty much right out of the gate. When I had been here just 6 months, Christine left as planned on a 4-month sabbatical. And I remember her saying from the pulpit, "Now everybody go easy on Angela. She's gonna have a lot on her plate." And everyone was very considerate, for sure, but we did not just take it easy. By the time Christine got back, the congregation had voted to construct a new sanctuary and had launched a 3-part, 18-month-long immigration justice project and managed to bring the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, our national denomination, out from Boston for a visit. Don't worry, Christine knew about the sanctuary. She had worked hard to get us to that point before she left. That was the beginning of our ministry together, a ministry that would go on to be fruitful and meaningful, and still is, and is never boring. I remember being filled with awe when we really did build that sanctuary, just watching for the first time as a new minister, as we accomplished something together that none of us could have possibly done alone. I was just so moved by the sense of community and by the many kinds of generosity and all of the kinds of hard work it took to make that happen. All of the ministry that happens within First Unitarian and that flows from us, that all comes from that kind of community that we are, and from all of the kinds of generosity that you share, and from working side by side. But a lot of the time, most of it is not as visible as a big sanctuary. Most of the time, it's not so visible. So today, for the sermon, I want to share 12 snapshots from the last decade, many having to do with my wanderings and my growth in ministry, which often took place in church moments that happened just out of sight. So this is different than what I guessed I would say today. It's different from what was in the newsletter for this month. Instead of telling you what I've learned, I'm going to share some of the moments I've learned from those formative experiences in ministry. Most of these are entries from my journal, where I often write in the present tense. A couple are stories that I pulled from other places, and then I rewrote journal style for today. And they're from throughout the 10 years, but they are not in chronological order. And you'll hear a couple of references to Christine. She's our minister emerita now. Most other names have been changed. Some of the snapshots are funny or uplifting, and some are poignant or pretty sad. So if you're feeling a little bit fragile this morning, I just want to give you a heads up about that. I'm sharing the happy and the sad because they're both part of our lives, and our church is here for us for all of it. So here are 12 snapshots. 1. The first sermon I preached after arriving in Albuquerque as the new assistant minister is called The F Word. Christine looks incredulous. The F word? Yes, I say. It stands for forgiveness. I think she's picturing it on the sermon signboard out on Carlisle, just sitting up there with no explanation. I get it. And, well, hi everyone, I'm here. Better that they know what they're getting into. The reading that Sunday is The Idiocy of Flight, the same one we just heard just now in the service. And in it, Jane Jepka mentions the vantage point of the minister's study. My journal will soon be filled with things from that vantage point. Soon after I start, I watch Christine bless babies by holding them, showing them the congregation, smiling at them, and touching water to their soft little foreheads. She doesn't read from a script. I vow to get the hang of that ceremony so that I can do it too. 2, I plan meticulously for Sundays, editing my sermons sometimes right up until people arrive. I go over the order of service, line by line by line. I try to prepare the worship leaders. I spend more time than I want to choosing hymns. This was before we had a full-time music director. I inspect the platform and I try to remember to see the whole sanctuary too. I get so nervous. In the end, what all of this preparation does is make space for the ridiculous, the unpredictable, the even clumsy beauty of worship to happen without derailing us. The planning makes a worship-shaped container for things like this. A teenage mother I've never seen before who sits in the front row with a newborn, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old next to her. They're talking and wiggling. She looks exhausted to the point of expressionlessness, and I'm trying to imagine what need or desire overpowered the logistical hurdles of her wrangling those 3 babies in here. Later, I catch her in the family room to make sure the usher didn't offend her when he invited her to try it out. I'm overflowing with joy as I hold that 2-month-old baby and try to help his mother clean up the toys the other 2 have strewn around the family room like a tornado, the worst mess I have ever seen in there. I try to let her know that I too was a very young mother and try to elicit a little bit of her story. She won't talk much except to note with embarrassment that her breasts are leaking milk. I wish I could wrap her in a big hug and tell her that she's going to be okay. But I have no idea if she's okay or not. Why did she come? Did she find what she was looking for? 3, campus cleanup day. I get sent to a part of the campus I did not know existed. The thin strip on the west side of the RE building between chain link fences. It's hot. The ground is dust and gravel and goat heads. But working side by side bonds people together. Michelina moved to China with her family several years ago, but I still remember her because she rolled up her sleeves along with me to pull those weeds. 4, the ushers hand out little squares of origami paper along with the orders of service. I invite the congregation to turn them into Valentines without knowing who will receive them. We mix them all up and we redistribute them. I pad the basket ahead of time with a few extras for latecomers. So at the end of the service, there are some left over. Here are some of the things you wrote for each other. Even when it is dark and cold, there is a light within you that shines. Thank you for spending this time with us. Peace and happiness be with you. You are precious. You are loved. I'm glad you are here. Thank you for your compassion. May peace follow you everywhere you go. May you be surrounded by love and caring community. The holder of this paper is entitled to many days of sunshine and love. You are special. May you love freely and let yourself be loved. May you be kind to yourself today. You are enough. May you be safe. Five. Standing next to a spry older fellow in the office workroom, I watch as Christine transfers his wife's ashes from a plastic bag to a ceremonial vase. Chuck and Tommy, their real names, must have been married 40 years. I remember when Tommy called me back in Boston before I got the job here. After 2 rounds of interviews and an in-person visit, she wanted me to know that she's an atheist. You kept talking about God, she said. What would you do for me? I thought, I only mentioned God once, and not even in the sermon, but sitting in my car, outside one of the old New England churches with its impossible layers of stone, I offered a humanist prayer for her broken ankle. May the healing energies in your body overwhelm all suffering. Then the search committee reached its consensus and I was hired. 8 months later, after having been ill for quite some time with something much worse than a broken ankle, Tommy died. Now here are her ashes wisping over the edges of the vase. They disappear as tiny air currents carry them away from the minister's hands. I worry about where they will land. I wish we could gather them up again, but we can't. I wonder how many others are part of the church permanently. I think of the hours I've spent with the board and various committees and the ashes and spirits that were around us the whole time. The world is covered in ashes, I think. Outside, her husband pours them into the memorial wall and tears catch him off guard. We hug. So much is boundless. The presence of generations, love, the reach of death, and the meaning of our connections when we float among the wisps. 6. A guy comes into my office, a newcomer, maybe in his mid-30s. He sits down, we do the usual, how are yous? And then he asks me point blank, what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life? I repeat back. Yeah, he says, why do we exist? I don't know if I have the answer to the meaning of life, I tell him, but I do know a lot about living a meaningful life. We could talk about that. He nods slowly. A meaningful life, he repeats back. Yeah, I say. It feels theologically honest, maybe even smart, but a part of me is afraid that it's not enough. He can find another clergy person in a religion with a creed who'll offer a direct answer to his direct question. I think of the people I've counseled who were going through hard things that I did not have easy answers for. I think of my sermon writing. It seems like I'm always trying to write sermons about things I don't have a direct answer to. Who or what is God? Where does evil come from? What is love? Do I know enough to do this work? Does our religion know enough? After the man leaves, I write a poem. It goes like this. You bring yourself before the sacred, before the holy, before what is ultimate and bigger than your lone life, bigger than your worries, bigger than your money problems, bigger than the fight you had with your sister and your aches and pains, bigger even than your whole being, yourself, who is part of and trapped within and blessed with a body that does what you want and doesn't do what you want and wants all the wrong things and wants all the right things. You stand at the edge of mystery, at the edge of the deep, with the light streaming at you, and you can't hide anything, not even from yourself, when you stand there like that. And then what? Maybe you call your pastor and say, what is this? What am I looking at? What do I do? And your pastor comes and stands at the edge with you and looks over. She can't hide anything either, she thinks. Not even the fact that she doesn't know the answer to your question. And she wonders if you can tell by looking at her that this is the case. She thinks of all the generations who've come there before you and cast words out toward the source of that light, wanting to name it. Somehow she thinks to herself, the name stayed tethered to the aging world and got old, while the light remains timeless and burns without dimming. Meanwhile, the armful of worries you brought to the edge of mystery have fluttered to your feet. Unobscured by these, you shine back, light emanating unto light. You with your broken heart and your seeking, you are the utterance of the timeless word. The name of the holy is pronounced through your being. Later that year, the poem will be published in a book of meditations, then republished for use in worship across the country. 7. Joe is hard of hearing in one ear and nearly deaf in the other. He's in a hospital bed with his good ear against the pillow. He has slurred speech due to Parkinson's, so he is also hard for me to understand. He keeps trying to tell me something and I can't figure out what it is. On top of our hearing and speech issues, there are machines beeping and all the usual noise of a hospital. I'm holding his hand. I tried telling him about 10 different ways that I've been thinking of him. You're in my heart. I've been thinking of you. The love of your friends at church is all around you. He just looks at me perplexed. Finally, I lean over and I yell right into his almost deaf ear, I bless you. And with a straight face, he looks me in the eye and says, that'll work. 8. I've done many weddings. A few really stand out. This is one of my favorites. The union of a bride and a groom, one from a Christian family, one from a Muslim family. The ceremony takes place in a beautiful New Mexico chapel on neutral ground. It's a hot summer day and we're off to a bit of a slow start. As I stand at the altar, a very small child, maybe 2.5 years old, runs circles around me. He has that second wind energy, the kind that portends trouble. It is clearly almost nap time. Whose is this? I ask the expectant crowd. A family member scoops him up and leads him out the door. A little while later, just as the processional is set to begin, I hear a wail from a different room. And then a long pause. And then finally the groom and his mother process down the aisle. Then a bridesmaid holding the arm of a groomsman, and I look down and see that same small child wrapped around the man's left leg. And he clings to the leg as the groomsman walks down all the way to the altar. Soon he's in the man's arms. During the nuptial prayer, the sound of a tiny snore causes everyone to break into laughter. The wedding was so kind toward the 2-year-old. I think this bodes well for the couple. 9. Sometimes being in the ministry means being privy to private worlds that unfold in plain sight, invisible to passersby. Like this morning on the plane, when I ran into a young mother whose newborn son I memorialized last fall. Her son's death was the first time we'd met, and I hadn't seen her since. Back then, I let her and her husband know that we'd probably run into each other and that it might be hard for them when we do, and that I would understand. I was picturing a chance encounter at the grocery store. I wasn't picturing sitting directly behind her on the 90-minute flight to Dallas, my 2 nearly grown children laughing and joking beside me, and my husband also by my side. Nor did I predict that we would hear her dead son's name spoken over and over again on the PA system. I've got gate connection information, said the flight attendant. We'll be arriving in gate D as in David 3. If you're going to Baltimore, gate D as in David 14. Boston, gate D as in David 7. For Miami, the gate is A as in Apple 9. If you're connecting in Portland, your gate is D as in David 10. Providence, D as in David 4. And on it went. It turned out American Airlines connected predominantly at gate D as in David. David, whose tiny body I held and blessed before he died. There's no mother who can't imagine losing a child. We all imagine it too vividly, too often, from the moment we first allow ourselves to love them. To have raised nearly grown children is to have lost them a million times in my mind, to illness, injury, accident, to foul play, flukes, and happenstance, and to my own ineptitude. And yet my children are here, and another mother's grief is profound. In ministry, as in life, we reach for each other across chance and fate. We reach toward each other, and we try not to miss. 10. A dream. There are 2 big snakes in my house. I get one to go outside. The other, bright green, jumps into my couch beneath the middle cushion. I call a snake handler to remove them. She arrives with a stick, with a grabber on one end and a handle that seems too short. She catches the snake and she laughs as she sticks it in my face. I notice she has a checklist that instructs her to do this, to stick scary snakes in people's faces. When she leaves, I find that other wild animals are trying to escape their enclosures in my yard. A gorilla has broken free. Wild dogs are wandering around near the tame ones. The chimpanzees are without water. There are dozens of puppies in the basement of my barn. When I awaken, I sense that the snake handler was God. 11. I learned to do that baby blessing. I stand on the edge of the platform in my vestments and heels, and I touch a baby girl's forehead with water as I hold her on my hip. I welcome you into the community of all good souls and dedicate you to a life of love and service for and among your fellow human beings. Later in the grocery store, I can't look at strangers' babies without silently blessing them. 12. It's August 2019, Bob's first Sunday as our associate minister. When he was here visiting in the spring and he preached as our candidate, he made some crack about fanfare. I can't remember the rest of the joke. I didn't even really pick up on it, but one of our trumpet players did. So when I introduced Bob at the 9:30 service, Larry pops up in the back of the sanctuary with his trumpet and goes for it. Bob is surprised and we all laugh, Bob included. At the 11 o'clock service, Larry and his trumpet jump out of the closet, stage left. Bob is surprised to be surprised again. More laughter. Better that he know what he's getting into. Before I close, I want to add that throughout these 10 years, most of the time my family has been just out of the frame, supporting me behind the scenes. And it is hard to find words to express what a treasure their support is. But I think I might be able to give you a sense of it. Here's a video from the day of the special congregational meeting in May 2017. Christine was just about to retire. And here's what my family was up to in the church office during the long minutes in which we waited to hear whether the congregation had voted to call me as the next senior minister. You must fight just to keep them alive. It's deep eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last lone survivor starts his spread in the night, and he's watching us all with the eye of the tiger. I feel very lucky. I'm very grateful. It has been a wonderful 10 years. I hope that we will have many more years together with funny moments and poignant ones and lots of opportunities to serve side by side. Thank you for being a wonderful congregation and for the honor of ministering to you and with you.
We take our offering this morning with the words of the historian Howard Zinn. Revolutionary change does not come as one cataclysmic moment, but as an endless succession of surprises moving zigzag toward a more decent society. We don't have to engage in grand, heroic actions to participate in the process of change. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. You can find instructions on how to give the offering in the chat box.
What is given generously is received with gratitude. Thank you on behalf of First Unitarian Church of Albuquerque, and thank you on behalf of Roadrunner Food Bank, our partner. As we move towards the ending of the service, if you're going to stick around for the breakout rooms, a suggested discussion question is to consider what the last 10 years at church have been like for you, and what you think the next 10 years could be like. As we extinguish our chalices, we give thanks for the long ministry of Angela, of Reverend Angela, and wish her many, many more years of service. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace, gentle people, and practice radical love.
No, Carl, this one is for Carlos. Here. Well earned.
When that spirit says do, you got to do. When that spirit says do, 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 do. When that spirit says do. Do, 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 do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when that Spirit says sing. Sing when the Spirit you got to sing when that Spirit says sing. Sing, sing, sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing, oh Lord. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 Spirit says sing.
You got to groove when the Spirit says groove.
You gotta be grooving, you gotta be grooving.
You got to groove when the Spirit says groove.
You have got to groove.
When the Spirit says groove, you've got to groove, oh Lord. You've got to groove when the Spirit says groove.
Says groove.
Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove.
You got to rock when the Spirit says rock. You got to rock when the Spirit says rock. When the Spirit says rock, you got to rock, oh Lord. You got to rock when the Spirit says rock. 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 Spirit says rock.
Check it. Yo, I had to call before I walk and now I do the 1-2 step. I heard the Spirit and it said the groove, yeah. That's why I do my own shuffle, tapping feet, clapping hands. If you could talk, you could sing. If you could walk, you could dance. Spirit told me bust the track with the vocals, and I come around your city rocking with the locals. Fading out, got my eyes closed. I think the Lord talking to me, gotta get up all in my zone. Candle gazing after doing Kundalini. I wrote it in my journal, trying to find the true meaning. It ain't gonna happen overnight, I really ain't stressing. I'ma get the blessing. I don't need Google directions, I just follow Spirit. I think I start to hear it. The elders talk about alignment, I just started getting near it. Walk along the path, with or without a clue. When the Spirit says do, I make it do what it do. Come on.
Do when the Spirit says do.
Oh yeah.
You got to do.
Y'all know what it's like when the Spirit says do. I mean, you just gotta do what it do. I know right now with some Spirit talking to you inside and it's telling you to do something, and whatever that is, go with it. All right. Spirit says do. Spirit says. Spirit says do, and you know what? I'ma do what I do. You go ahead and do what you do, and that's how we gonna do